So our next movie that we're going to be discussing is Tetris. Tetris, starring Tailor Egerton. It is a movie that is on Apple TV there, so you can watch it on their streaming platform. I'm sorry, not Apple TV. Apple Plus is what the streaming service is called there, so you can watch it there. This is detailing the story of a businessman named Hank Rogers and the Tetris inventor named Alexei Pajitnov.
Alexei Pajitnov.
Who joined forces there. He was the creator of Tetris. Hank Rogers was a businessman that discovered Tetris and discovered, like, I got to get involved in this. This is amazing. There's the beginning of the movie, you see him playing the game, and he's like, he just gets addicted to it. Have you ever played Tetris?
Oh, who hasn't? I love that game. I have Tetris on my phone mostly for when I'm on the train when I was living over in Japan.
Yeah. Most people probably have. I mean, Tetris is a very common game that is on every platform imaginable. And this story is detailing how these two guys were able to bring it to the masses, bring it to all these people, because it's amazing that you would think, how interesting could a movie be about a guy who found Tetris and, about how they were able to bring the game to all these different people. You would think, how interesting can this story be? Apparently, this movie, it was damn interesting. I mean, it was like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I mean, they were, these two guys were taking on the USSR, the Soviet Union, the Russians. There was all this backstabbing and dealing between all these different businessmen. His family was being threatened. I mean, wow. I was like, I don't know if any of this is true, but it's fucking interesting.
You took the legal battle of getting the rights to Tetris to be sold worldwide, and you fucking put it through the lens of a goddamn Jean Le Carre spy thriller written by the guys who make Succession.
Yeah. And it is damn impressive. I will say that. Like, it just really gets you interested in it. And like we were just talking about, just reviewing with Air, of how it really, kind of makes you interested in this story that, maybe even if you're not somebody who's into this particular thing, it really compels you. And if you're not into video games at all, I think this is a story that will really get you interested about it, just about the whole history of this and just the history of video games in general. And like, there's even a scene where he's in the R&D lab, Taron Egerton's character, and he's looking at the very first Game Boy. And he picks us oh my God, what is this? It's this brand, he just is it's how amazing would that to be to see that piece of technology for the first time ever, and to see it. And he just looks at it with such amazement, and he's playing Mario on it. A lot of creative things they do in the movie also is very impressive, how they incorporate the video game aspect. There's a scene where they introduce each chapter of the movie as levels. It's this is level 1, this is level 2, and it's a little video game type thing. I thought was very cute.
It's done in 8-bit, which is such an incredible creative choice, and something that reminded me a lot of Scott Pilgrim when I was watching it. We talk about this with a lot of creative decisions in a lot of films, and here I think it works so well to endear us to the characters. It introduces all of our major players going into the second and third act. When we get to Russia, when it starts to could possibly get a little convoluted.
Yeah. Did you feel at all sometimes it was hard to keep up with all the double dealing and a little backstabbing and all? Did you feel like that at all throughout it?
I didn't feel like I was getting lost in that, because the way they handle it, it's the Russians have all of our major players in different rooms, and they're just going back and forth between all of them, and it's entertaining, and it's a great comedic bit.
Yeah. Who else is rounding out this cast? You have Toby Jones, who's also in this movie. You also have Miles Burrow, who plays Dennis Jackson. This Rick Ewan, who plays I think that was one of his bosses, or the bank manager. That was one of his.
That was the bank manager.
I'll give him a look.
And of course, we have Nikita Efremov. Nikita Efremov, who is a Russian actor. He plays Alexei Pajitnov, who is the actual creator of Tetris. You have Sofia Lebedeva, who plays Sasha, who is the translator that he meets when Hank Rogers gets to Moscow. And of course, you have one of the standouts in, I'd say, the only performance here that is really cartoonish, and that's Roger Allam, who plays Robert Maxwell.
Yeah. Yeah, he was playing a little bit like, I don't know if it's because he looked like him, but he looked like Tom Hanks and Elvis. I don't know if that, and then he kind of played him a little bit like you can tell there's a lot of prosthetics kind of going on, makeup there to kind of make him look like that. And when you actually see the real guy,
It's like, yeah, they nailed the look.
Yeah,
I'll give him that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's like if you had to come up with, like, he looks like a businessman that would be written in a Bugs Bunny cartoon, like big cigar, the suspenders, everything like that. So yeah, he kind of comes in there. Yeah, it's a little bit cartoonish there, but but they do nail his look in the movie there. They do kind of nail him there. Oh, you were gonna say something, or?
Yeah, and he is ridiculously despicable, as is Igor Grabuzov, who plays Valentin Trifonov. He was the head of the KGB and the head of foreign affairs for the Soviet Union at the time, at least in the film.
Yeah. And they do a lot of kind of despicable stuff. You see that a lot of threatening the family. You see that, again, I don't know. I mean, this probably, it's a Hollywood movie, so 2% of it is probably real, which means that there was a guy, this was the guy's name that invented Tetris, and this was the businessman. That's about it. But, who knows? I mean, it's probably, you got to look up the
names, right?
Yeah, you got to look up the real story for yourself. But hey, it's a movie, right? You want it to be interesting. You want it to be compelling. I think the movie does that. It does a good job. And also, it's not too preoccupied with, like, hey, it's the 80s, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, it's the time period. Maybe it's because they were like, hey, we don't really have the rights to get all these big 80s songs there. But yeah, it's not too preoccupied with that.
And also, a majority of the film takes place in Cold War era Moscow.
Yeah. Yeah. When did 99 Luftballons, when did that come out? Wasn't that like 80? I want to say 86, something like that. Because I know, like, anytime there's an 80s movie, they got to throw that song in there too. 99 Luftballons. Because I know that was in Atomic Blonde, and that movie was set in the 80s, and she was there. So, yeah.
But, yeah, that was 1983.
Yeah, so they could have maybe done that, but they didn't. So they held off, resisted to put that. Yeah.
I'm grateful because there's like one major needle drop that happens in the film in the Moscow segment, but I think it's more fitting for the song they chose there. Because that scene was about, like, the counterculture that was happening in the Soviet Union at the time.
Yeah. With the story like this, like, it's the little guy versus the big machine, right? It's like taking on, like, trying to get his idea out there, trying to fight all these different elements of trying to get this out there. You do have that. You've seen that plenty of times before. And you see kind of, that big impact there. That can be kind of, like you said, it could be kind of regurgitated and cliche, but I think they do a good job of making it interesting. Like, he's going up against all these different elements, and we like to see the little guy win, right? We like to see the little guy, kind of take on these big forces and win. What kind of some of your thoughts on that, as far as the story goes, of that, the little guy versus kind of the big machine?
Well, they do a great job of it by with having the little guy versus the big super corporation, which Nintendo, which, even though they were a massive giant in the gaming industry at the time, the industry wasn't what it is today. It's like there was only like three other consoles. It was the Nintendo and the Atari, and seeing all of the entry that went into the sale of Tetris worldwide, it is kind of incredible that Egerton and John S. Baird, who was the director on this, they made it this engaging.
Yeah, and Tara,
even for people who aren't gamers, this movie isn't goddamn entertaining to watch. And Taron Egerton, I think he's an incredible actor. I think he should have been nominated for Rocket Man a couple years ago.
Yeah, I thought so as well, and he does a great job here. in this and as the lead in this movie. And I could see him being nominated for this, but I don't know how many people are gonna see this. But this is a really strong performance from him. With the whole element of the little man taking on the big machine. Some kind of the other supporting kind of characters, like when you have the wife, you do have the wife who, is trying to be supportive, but what I mean, hey, it's just sometimes it's too much of a toll. So I don't really think she's that much of a character really in this. And you don't have his wife. I'm gonna see the actress. You have it pulled up? Who's
it's Ayane Nagabuchi plays Hank Rogers' wife, Akemi.
Yeah, I don't think she's really that much of a character here. His family's just kind of there. What did you kind of think about some of the supporting characters outside kind of the leads here?
That's what I think. I think the supporting characters outside of the leads, they're doing the job that they're doing as good a job as they can be. It's just that the film, it moves so fast, it doesn't really have time to focus on them much.
Yeah. And the runtime of this movie, it moves at a really good pace. I think it's only an hour and comes close to 2 hours, like an hour and 50 minutes.
It's just like a little bit shy of 2 hours, and it moves so fast.
Yeah. And you won't be, you think, like I said, it's like, why would I want to watch a movie about Tetris? Like why would it's going to be boring. Trust me, it's not a boring movie.
That is what I said before I cut it on. And like 20 minutes later, had both my AirPods in. I was on duty at the time, so I was just holding my phone like this, just watching intently.
Wow. So it'll keep you engaged, and it goes by really good. The time, I think they do well with it, so it doesn't drag on to me at all. Like you have speaking of kind of some lesser supporting characters, like, of course, Toby Jones is always going to deliver a great performance. Toby Jones is one of the best character actors we got today. So he's always going to come in and do some great stuff there. And he has a great scene where he just decks the fuck out of a guy. He just punched the shit out of him. Little old Toby Jones, which I thought.
But that guy had it coming. That was Anthony Boyle, who plays Kevin Maxwell, who's the CEO of Mirrorsoft at the time, who... Boyle plays him just so pathetic. It's almost like watching Succession every time he's on, because he wants so badly to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
But nobody does. Everyone just punks him out.
Yeah, so I think this is good. If you have, I know, there's 5 million streaming services on right now, but if you got one of them, you've got Apple Plus, hey, I recommend checking this out. You know what I mean? Take a break from watching Ted Lasso and pop this on, and I think this is a good watch. So I would give it, like I said, the style is really good. What they do, I love how they incorporate the video game stuff into the movie. Do that. I don't think it's done in a cheesy or corny way. I think it's really cute. They do it like in an 8-bit style. Performances are very strong. You do run into a situation where, it's kind of a cliche kind of story. Like I said, little man versus the big corporation, and how he's going to win and everything like that. But I think it's engaging enough. Like I said, it's kind of mixing in this spy thriller with this, kind of element of like about a video game is kind of interesting. So yeah, I would give it a tune in for me. What about you, man?
If you told me that a movie about Tetris was going to end up becoming one of my favorite movies of the year so far, I would have laughed in your face. But goddamn, the performance from Taron Egerton and Nikita Fremov, they are fantastic whenever they are on screen together. And again, you made a tense spy thriller where you have stakes feeling this high over Tetris. And it's so engaging and so entertaining. I had an absolute blast with this movie. The inclusion of the 8-bit style whenever they are introducing characters. And there's a big scene towards the end of the movie where it's like a car chase, and they incorporate the video game style. They like pan up, kind of like how they did in John Wick 4, and it switches into... like you're playing a video game, and it's entertaining. I kind of wish we got more of that throughout the entire runtime, because when it happens, it feels a little jarring, because no other scene in the film is shot like that. But besides that, everything in here is done so well. I think the performances are fantastic. The cinematography, it makes Cold War Russia look really cool.
Yeah, makes it look really cold.
Hey, that's what I said. It looks really cool. And like any film that you see based on a true story, I can imagine that 99% of this movie is bullshit, but that shit was fun as hell to watch, and I give this a very strong tune in. I loved this movie.
Yeah, very strong tune in. All right, tune in for me, and very strong tune in from Nick with Tetris.